Hey guys, it's Amber, and I am working on my Week in the Life album. So my original planning video showed me using some transparencies from an old kit, and I decided after seeing Allie's digital files in the the prep day course, that I would want to use those because they were awesome. And then I decided to download the kit she offered, the digital kit this year, that had really cool days of the week matching products. So what you see here is I printed them on transparencies that I could mink with. And so I'm just kind of setting these up in a big batch, printed them all onto the transparencies. And at one point, somehow I got some print transfer on my carrier sheet. So I just have paper in between them to help keep it from getting on anything, especially because this is a clear project that I'm working on. So somehow I got ink on the top and bottom. So once I got those all done, they actually printed a little bit bigger than I had intended to, so I had to trim them down. And had to trim them anyway, but then I had to trim them even further down. And so I'm working on that, and then I have my punch template up there on the right-hand corner of the screen there. And what is awesome about that is you can just line things up, and you know where your punch is going to go, and you know that things are centered. So here you can see where I'm measuring, and I'm realizing that things are a little big, and then I have to chop off. I think they printed like 9 inches instead of like 8 1/4 for some reason, so I'm not sure what happened. But I just picked the better part of the words that I wanted to keep, and each one was different. But these are really, really cool graphic dividers. So just getting everything lined up where I want it to be. They probably didn't need to be minked. I used black foil for it, but it just kind of made it a little bit shinier. Here is my intro page. I printed that on vellum, and I did not mink it. I just let it be, but I wanted something that was a little more opaque so that you couldn't see through everything in the album. It kind of, you could see through it a little, but not as much. So just something that a choice I made there. So this is another digital file. So this week is from the prep day, all the days of the week are from the digital kit. And then she also included the circle going around the outside says like the days and the project. And then that week in the life is a free download from her blog from like years and years ago that I've had. So I just printed that on photo paper as well. However, if you bought her kit this year, I believe it was a die cut. So you would have it anyway if you bought her kit. So lots of bouncing around in this video. So I changed that up. That's going to be my second intro page. And then here I had discussed what my actual plan was going to be in the planning video, but here's where I'm actually doing the construction. So I took a piece of clear acetate so I could see where I was cutting. And I'm cutting those days of the week cards from the Liz Tamanaha kit into another 6-inch half circle, and then I'm just kind of trimming a little bit, and then I'm going to use a photo square just to hold them together, or actually that might be later on, but they're going to be mounted to those transparencies, and then I'm going to be using that patch that you see, that number 1 through number 7 for every day. Those are from last year's Week in Life kit that I never used. There you go. So I use a photo square just to hold them together. And then this has really strong adhesive. So I'm just centering that, using my paper piercer to help me align it up, and then using rolling adhesive to stick it down. And then just taking advantage of where I can put some adhesive that's hidden, because I don't want any on the teal part or else you'll be able to see it. So just going through and doing like batch processing. So I'm picking all the days. I ended up only doing like the first 3 or 4 days, and then I realized maybe I should wait in case I do want to change any of the colors around, but I ended up not doing that. So here I'm jumping to, there was a reason why free digital in the prep day, and that Stuff of Life circle. So I printed those onto my paper, and then I only needed it to be a 4x6 transparency, so I covered it with the clear part and then ran it through my printer again. And what I'm going to do is just have a 3x4 reason why. My original plan was to maybe paint behind it or do something cool. I ended up just mounting it to white cardstock or photo paper. And then the stuff of light, I'm going to use my crop tool from Simple Stories. That's a 2x2 square, and just crop it down, and it's going to slide into that 12 pocket 2x2 inch page protector. And now I'm going to show you process for day 1.
Hey guys, it's Amber, and I am getting started on my Monday. So this is where I'm at right now. I have some work done. I have my Monday transparency here and ready to go. And what I did is I try not to scratch things up here. I created these circles using these digital days of the week from Allie Edwards, old from the type kit, I think. And then I created a little timeline of my day. I thought about doing it like journaling, but I thought I've never really done it as like a timeline before, so I figured out what the times were. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting this out, and it's going to go on the back of, it's going to go on the back of this sheet here, so then it'll be white for the side. I'm thinking about doing a little bit of stitching with my sewing machine. I want to try it on the first one before I go ahead and make all 7. Let me move this over and show you my photos for the day. So I still need to trim quite a bit of this out, but this is what I have printed. I used 9x13 sheets, and then I combined some days so that I'm not wasting paper. But this was a story about flying home, some shots at the airport, eating, getting home to the kitties, just some things I was doing, and then like before bed, because that was pretty much the basis of my day. So my biggest things I need to do are get my photos trimmed out. I've already done all the editing and the journaling. So right now it's just assembling basically. And then I've got my packet of embellishments here so that I can add little things here and there like chipboard or stamps or whatever. I've got my cards at the ready, and I'm excited to get started and get telling stories. This is the hardest part. There's 3 main parts: the photos, the stories, and then actually getting the album put together. But I'm excited. I tried to take some photos similar to last year, but our week was completely different from what it was like last year. So it'll be interesting, and I'm excited to see how the project comes out. I'm gonna pop you on fast forward and get started.
Okay, so step 1 was just getting my photos cut out and then trimmed and kind of organized into piles. And I'm going to be jumping around a lot here because I'm going to be showing you quite a bit of my process, but I skip around a lot. So I originally was like, I'll do it by day, but then as I was printing and starting to add in my cards, I realized, I might need to move things around, or I had to print multiple days on different sheets. So I just decided to go ahead and take care of everything in one big batch. So I printed all the photos, trimmed everything, put them all in the pockets, and then I started working on my days of the week circles because that took some time. I had to cut them, stitch them, retrim them again, get them mounted, and then from there I had to figure out where my gaps were and start embellishing. And I do love big projects like this. Like I have no problem starting and stopping. I'm always excited just to get it started and get it in the album. And once I start coming up with some processes of like things I can do that are similar every day, that's when I really start rolling, or when like I get an idea, then I can kind of run with it. So my sewing machine is ancient. It's like over 30 years old. It is not super awesome at stitching, so it's kind of a pain in the neck. But here you can see I'm trying to take, so the circle's printed just slightly larger than the act, slightly larger than 6 inches, but I still hadn't mounted my Sunday stuff together, so I used those as a template by temporarily attaching that yellow and clear acetate together and then using that as my guide for trimming out. So some of the days of the week I had going off the edge, They were always towards the top. I tried to make sure when I was doing my journaling that I left as much room around the bottom so I could do the stitching as I could. And then every time I stitched, I actually kind of had to sort of hold the template up, see where the trimming was going to fall, hopefully get the stitching where I wanted. And then from there, sometimes I still had to adjust where I trimmed. But it actually came out pretty well. They're not perfect, but I didn't expect them to be. And then here I'm going to be using Gina K double-sided tape. She calls it terrific tape. I use the 1/2 inch for a big chunk right where the patch is hidden, and then I use the 1/4 inch for most of it. It does tear, but I wanted nice clean lines because I was doing so much of this that I didn't want it to like rip and have weird edges. So then I just pulled those off, and then I don't show you here, but it actually took me like 3 or 4 tries to get this down in the exact spot. I kept the words are on an angle, and it was messing up where the journaling was looking like in straight lines. So luckily, you can tear it apart and keep putting it together. I forgot I did leave this footage in. So like I said, it took me several tries, but in the end, if it's a little off, not a big deal. But I was just trying to get it as lined up as I could. I did consider stitching all the way through to both sides, but like I said, because my sewing machine is so sad and barely working, that I didn't want to try to do 2 layers of photo paper and transparency and then possibly have it mess up things that I had worked on. So I tried to pick colors for my circles that either coordinated with the photo that they were next to or coordinated with the products that I had selected. So here I have some 6x8s that I inserted into the page protector. I only did a couple photos outside of the page protector. I generally prefer for my things to be protected as much as possible, but I did a double page spread outside of the page protector and then each photo mounted on the sides of that. And that doesn't come until like Saturday. But I love it. I wanted to do more double page spreads and I just didn't have great photos for it. And this album is super stuffed. So starting to try to figure out where things are going to go here. My original plan was that all those pleather tags were going to go on my 6x8 photos, and most of them did not. They just, it didn't end up working out. So here I'm going through the Stories by the Month, actually Stories by the Year card set that Ali offered last year. It's really bright and colorful, just like this kit, and just trying to find something that I thought might work. And then what I ended up doing was a running theme of some Paige Evans papers that have a really painterly look that I believe were from the travel collection. Yeah, from the Go the Scenic Route collection. There's a pink and a blue one, and I had 2 sheets of both, and I kind of used those all throughout the album because they were just really nice, bright colors. So there you saw I trimmed down a 3x8 or 6x8 transparency down to a 2 pocket. Generally, I have them in stock, but I didn't, so I had to trim a couple down for this project. I'm going to have to reorder more because they only added a couple smaller inserts. Generally, I hate cutting down stuff like that unless I really truly need to. But there you can see that painterly style paper that I'm going to use as the background. And then I have some twine that came, I can't remember now, it came with like a tag kit for Christmas die cuts, so I don't recall exactly who made it, but I just had some twine that I used for them. And you saw there I also grabbed my crocodile to punch the holes bigger. They were just way too tiny even for a small bit of thread like that. So I just used the smaller hole on my crocodile to punch through. Worked pretty well. And then most of these I attached to the outside of the page protector just for some texture. The nice thing about pleather is it doesn't really wear out and the colors don't really come off of it or scratch or anything, so it just adds some nice texture. And then here you can see I'm actually going through and working on all of my Monday process like I normally would. So I'm gluing things back to back so that no white edges show. Here I'm taking a part of a paper bag that I had for my lunch and I trim that down and I'm just kind of jumping around. A lot of my journaling is on my photos. It's something that I did last year when I did my Week in the Life project for the first time, and I really enjoyed it. I made sure this year before starting to take pictures to go through last year's album and see what I liked about it. And I really enjoyed taking the time to put the journaling on each photo. So I did that. And then that gave me room to have just the photos shine by themselves if they didn't have journaling, or just to add embellishments or cards without needing to type up journaling, um, and try to fit that in, or type up cards or anything. So here I took one of the 4x6 cards and cut it in half. It's a nice yellow, creamy yellow, so it kind of bounced off that Monday tag and the color of my soup, things like that, just trying to help pull in the colors. So there you saw I pulled off the transparent backing on the tag, and I'm going to be using a black and white May Arch trim that I got on Amazon. I'll try to remember to link that for you guys. And then I stapled that on every time just to help it stay in place. Most of the time, sorry, that was my cat jumping up on the desk. So most of them are a couple, I should say half are about transparent and half are either over another photo or they are over some patterned paper, just depended. I think the beginning of the week they were more transparent, and towards the end of the week I let them be on other things. So just looking at some chipboard ideas, and I think that one says Life at This Moment. It was a nice tan color. I just wanted something to help fit there. I considered the savoring because I was eating and stuff, but when I'm not sure on something, I just tuck it into the pocket and then I can decide later. I didn't do a lot of the embellishing in the beginning. I kind of waited until more of the project was done. So here I have jumped really far forward. I have most of the album put together. I remembered through seeing someone else's photos that I had these awesome patches from the Day in the Life kit, and I wanted to use them in my Week in the Life. So I pulled those out and I used all of them except one which said Home Life, and I believe that's in my Project Life album. So there you can see my cat is in the video. She's also sitting right next to me, purring next to my microphone, so sorry about that. She has decided she loves being on my craft table and likes to watch me work. So I had to put a box on my table to keep her from climbing everywhere, and as you'll see in a little bit, that doesn't even stop her. So you're kind of getting glimpses here of all the days of the week. Like I said, I put in all the photos, didn't even do all the journaling, just attached embellishments as I found where I wanted to put them. There goes the little nugget. But I'm so back to what I'm doing on the screen. I am using red line tape, the 1/2 inch size, to put these felt patches down. Most of them are on the outside of the page protectors. I believe they all are actually. And they're really thick, which is why I made that decision. And I didn't want them to have any chance of falling off. There was one that I ended up moving, the Work Life one, and I trimmed it off on the edge, which I do not recommend because the stitching embroidery around the outside kind of frayed, and it was something that I hadn't really thought of. So I'm glad that's the only one I did. I'm not going to rip it off. I'm just going to let it go. But I was able to use, like I said, all of them except the one that said Home Life, and I believe that was in a Project Life project or the Day Life project potentially. So here I've kind of jumped to a Tuesday, and I'm using some of these black plastic circles, which I think came in this year's kit, if not they were from last year's kit. So that one I attached to the photo, trimmed off the edge a little bit, added a faux staple, so it's not really going through anything, it's just acting like it's grounding. And then I put a little piece of chipboard on the outside from the morning kit that said Just Tired. A lot of the handwritten journaling I left till the end because I had done so much journaling on the photos, and just trying to decide what pieces of chipboard to go where. Like I have a couple days of working photos or driving to work or at work, which is better than I got last year. Last year I think I included like barely one or two. So I'm trying to figure out if I have a couple working products, then where should they go? Which pictures on which days. So often I'll tuck things in until I make an official decision. But here what I decided to do was take that Love This Moment rectangular piece and cut it out with my 1-inch square punch. Maybe it might have been the 1 1/4. I'd have to check, but I believe it was the 1-inch, and it cut beautifully. And I just pulled the plastic off and used a little photo square to adhere it down into that little part of the photo. where there's a little bit of sunset going in front of our house. So thoughts on the project so far. I really like the way it's coming together. There was some things that I had intended to do that just didn't really work out. I kind of resorted back to my normal scrapbooking, um, the way I scrapbook, big photos, minimal journaling. I tried to be taking creative photos. There's a lot of our house that's not unpacked yet and it's kind of messy, so I didn't really show a ton of the new house, but a little bit, just here and there, trying to, show photos. Like the bottom right photo there with the two pieces of chipboard, I actually put my phone on the edge of the counter and set the timer so it would take photos looking down at me doing dishes in the dishwasher. Things like that, trying to be creative with my selfies or things like that. So here's where you can see I take that work life patch off. I was fine with it hanging over I had a lot of white space in the photo and hanging over to the other one, but I decided to put it on this page where there are 3 pictures, like 2 of me at work and 1 of my boyfriend at work, and it was a bright red color. So the red in the Chick-fil-A cup there helped tie in, and it was preventing me on the other page from being able to put in the embellishment colors that I wanted because it was such a bold color. So that's what made me make that move. Luckily, red line tape is really strong, but it does just peel right off plastic, so it's pretty awesome. Photos, it does not, but plastic, it'll just come right off. So here's where I take my Tim Holtz scissors and trim it, and like I said, I could have just left it go over the edge and it probably would have been fine, but the edges fray a little bit. Not terribly, but enough that it's noticeable. So just continuing to fill the pockets and trying to decide where the embellishments are going to be going. And like there I used that Workspace Wednesday patch, or I should say I tried to use it. I did not end up doing so. And there you can see more of that awesome Paige Evans paper. But I still was having trouble making some decisions. I ended up not using very much of the Liz Tamanaha kit. A lot of I probably shouldn't have bought it. I have enough product here that I could have gotten away without needing to purchase it. But a lot of the sentiments were things that I just didn't use, or they were just too graphic, and I was trying to kind of go with like warmer colors, brighter colors. But like one card was about coffee, and one was about food, but I forgot to use it for food, things like that. So further into the project now, I decided that I wanted to use those cork pieces that did come in the Liz Tamanaha kit. So I tried to put them on almost all enlargements near where I had journaling. One of them went on an enlargement with no journaling, and one of them had to go on a 4x6 just because that's where they fit the best. But they were just a nice, subtle day reminder, and I thought they looked cute tucked into a few places. Because I had said in my process video for prepping the album, I hate when every single layout says Monday, 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 Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday. It's like I know what day it is going through the album. But the products, there's so many that are repetitive that it makes it difficult to not do it because you want to use them and they're so cute. So there's my double page spread that I'm using. And I have the S on that one. And just deciding where is the best spot to put my little SU for Sunday. So you can see like a lot of my album is done, but not all of my journaling. And you're getting a little glimpse at my 12 pocket 2x2 page protector down there. I did cut out quite a bit of stuff, not enough for 2 double sides, so I'm probably going to put some pattern paper on the other side. Here you can see I'm using some day of the week products that day in the life products, sorry. Those 2 green circles. So it was deciding between the computer and the fork and knife. So I work at a place called the Restaurant Store, and our logo is like a fork, knife, and spoon on green. So I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. But I also was like, when else am I going to be able to use a green computer? Because maybe I can use that other one for an actual food layout or another work project down the road. But I was like, I'm wearing green, I'm working on the computer in this photo, I'll use that one. And then I also used the chipboard that said the working life on top of it. So here I'm using, actually, sorry, I skipped it. I was doing some journaling there on one of those cards. I ended up cutting them in half, which was cool. Here I am taking a stamp that Allie released a year or two ago that's kid travel themed, and it says My Travels, and I'm using Stays on ink on these Studio Calico label stickers to make my own tab sticker. It worked really awesome. I just recommend letting it really dry. I thought it was dry and I kind of smeared it, and I could have redone it, but I was a little too lazy, to be honest. So there I'm just taking my Saison cleaner, spraying it on there, and that's a Ranger stamp scrubber. Works great for getting all the ink out of the little details. I really try to take care of my stamps that way. And that was my Tim Holtz Ranger stamp platform, which they don't make anymore. So let's see where we are at now. So yeah, like I said, I was testing that out, but it wasn't quite perfect, but I ended up using a stapler to help me attach it. So pretty soon I will be sharing my full walkthrough video with you, and I can't wait to share that. Thanks so much.